It looks like the Trump fraud case in New York is still trying to hang on for dear life. It hit the appellate court a few weeks ago, and things aren't looking so good for the prosecution. Want to know why this case is quickly unraveling? Well, then stick around as we expose what's really going on and why this whole circus might end up with more than a few people on the prosecution side in hot water. I'm going to try to make this seemingly boring case into an interesting lesson on how the Democratic Party now abuses the justice system to take out their presidential opponent, and karma was just around the corner for the prosecution. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now you know what to do. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and smack that like button because it helps us with the algorithm to get our message out to more people. So, Trump's fraud case, yeah, it's still alive, and it made its way to the appellate court now. If you've been paying attention, you'll know that the case builds a lot of tension, with most people wondering, when will the court be throwing out the steaming pile of horse dung to the pasture? 5 judges sat through hours of arguments, probably wondering why they even bothered showing up. I mean, how do you argue fraud when the bank involved literally says, nope, we're good? Now imagine this. The prosecution, aka the Democrats' legal team, got hit with a barrage of super basic questions. Questions that any first-year law student could probably answer, and yet, after 2 hours of fumbling around, they came up with nothing. You're not going to believe how badly they flubbed this. One of the key points the judges zeroed in on was whether there's ever been a fraud case where the bank involved, you know, the Deutsche Bank, said that they weren't defrauded. Yes, you heard that right. Deutsche Bank, the same bank that loaned Trump money, admitted that they knew Mar-a-Lago's value was a bit exaggerated and they didn't care. Now, why? Because they said that Trump had already paid back 21 previous loans, all with interest and on time. But does the prosecution have an answer for that? Nope. Can you hear that? That's the sound of this case falling apart at the seams. And then the judges hit the prosecution with another bombshell. Can you point to any case in history where someone repaid a loan in full with interest and still faced fraud charges? Silence. You could hear the cricket. At this point, the judges were practically asking the prosecution if they lost their minds. And honestly, it's a fair question. The entire case hinges on the idea that there was some damage done, whether to the public, the bank, or I don't know, the universe at large. Maybe some unicorns were affected. But here's the truth. No harm was done. Now, we conservatives knew that at the beginning of this journey. Not to the bank, not to the public, and certainly not to Trump. And that, my friends, is the part where the prosecution's argument crumbles faster than Kamala Harris when her teleprompter stops working. Now get this. One judge straight up suggested that this whole thing could be politically motivated. Gee, you think? Right smack in the middle of Trump's presidential run, we've got a fraud case with no victims, no precedent, and no common sense. Now here's where it gets downright embarrassing for the prosecution. In their closing arguments, instead of making a coherent case, they basically begged the court to go easy on them and allow these types of cases to be brought forward without fear of punishment. Yeah, they ended it by throwing a Hail Mary and it's falling flat on its face. So where's the fraud? The answer? There wasn't any. At this point, the judges started hinting at something that should send shivers down the spine of the prosecution. Sanctions. For those who don't speak legalese, sanctions are basically penalties for wasting everyone's time with a baseless case. In this case, it's looking like a textbook example of a frivolous case. So what's next for Trump? Well, the mainstream media is already crowing about a $500 million fraud judgment, but they shouldn't get too excited yet. If the appellate court flips this case, not only could Trump walk away scot-free, but the prosecution could end up facing some serious legal consequences of their own. And hopefully in the next election, the people of New York will realize that Attorney General Letitia James is the real fraud here. When she ran her campaign, she had one policy to promote: get Trump. It's all she ever said. Me, I'm going to get Trump. Well, I hope the voters of New York have smartened up this time around, because she needs to go. If the crooked justice system under Letitia James in New York can do this to a former president, Think about what they could do to you. Someone that doesn't have the money for the lawyers that it's going to take to fight that off. Your ass is going to jail. Now imagine this. A case designed to derail Trump's campaign ends up blowing up in the prosecution's face. You got to love it. All right. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to be kept up to date with the latest news and analysis in politics. I'll see you in the next one. Spread the word.
Too many secrets, too many closed doors. We're sick of cover-ups. We're sick of the cover-ups. Want the truth and nothing more. The veil's been lifted, the jig is up. No more drinking the Kool-Aid.